So, to start off with today, we have a study on the relationship between emotional intelligence and conflict management style. And the question is, which conflict management styles are positively correlated with emotional intelligence? The methods of the study is they had 70 participants recruited from several multinational organizations in Egypt. And emotional intelligence was measured via the self-report emotional intelligence test, which includes 33 items that they respond to on a Likert scale. And then conflict management style was measured with the Thomas Kilmann conflict mode instrument, which we are all familiar with. And essentially, what they found with comparing these two tests was that surprisingly, only the competing conflict management style was significantly and positively correlated with overall emotional intelligence.
Wow,
And
that's surprising.
Yep. And the regression analysis determined emotional intelligence explains around 8% of the degree of utilizing the competing style. And in kind of, there are past studies that have had similar results to this. And the authors of this study suggested that these results could have shown up because of partially Egyptian cultural norms that lead to a low adoption of collaborative styles. And I believe that the primary styles that the participants in the study indicated that they utilize was actually avoiding or compromising. And so a mix of that potentially, along with they had a smaller sample size, which could be a limitation here. But regardless, this is what came out of the study, and they also indicate that and this is part of the key takeaway, that greater emotional intelligence can lead to greater likelihood of adopting the competing conflict management style among employees. But they also noted that no conflict management style is appropriate for all situations. Therefore, employees should have the intelligence to choose the style that best fits the situation. And so I found this interesting, definitely a little more counterintuitive to what you would expect, but interested to hear what you all think.
I mean, the only thing that kind of dawns on me is that if you have greater emotional intelligence, maybe you're able to kind of tap into the cultural norm more easily. So whatever the cultural norm is, whatever is going to like sort of work best in that particular dynamic, maybe that's what you end up using. Maybe it's a more adaptive style. You know, if you're more emotionally intelligent, you kind of read the situation more. And so if competing is a cultural norm, is that's the way they do it in Egyptian workplaces, then maybe that's what they tapped. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Jeremy, about maybe it's the adaptive style. That to me would make more sense. Having a high EQ skills, you're able to, this key takeaway, like you're able to know that. But how did they, I just opened the study, how did they correlate competing conflict management style with, like, how do they find this?
They probably did just it looks like they did a regression analysis, but so what they're doing is some sort of statistical test that measures correlation. So there's no causality, it's just pure correlation. So they're just going, people that have this style also tend, there's some sort of relationship with the competing style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there, and there could be some other mediating factors between that in that relationship that explains why. Yeah, maybe there's some sort of adaptive style that explains the relationship better. But this is just this is a pretty simple study. You're just taking two variables and correlating them, basically, seeing if there's a correlation.
I wondered too if I was trying to like picture this, or at least visualize what an environment would look like, and if you have a mostly avoiding and compromising styles at play, I wonder if the competing style kind of with the emotional intelligence kind of allows you to recognize needs that are not being met or fulfilled in an avoiding and compromising environment. And that's maybe one reason why we're going to compete for this. We're going to actually assert what I need, and maybe it comes out as a competing style. I don't know. That's what it made me think of almost.
Yeah, I mean, because there's a certain strength that one must have to be the competitor in a conflict, whereas and that's an emotional strength, which I feel like, yeah, that does make sense. It correlates where being an accommodator, being an avoider, there's a little bit more of a weakness there. Yeah.
More of a passive style. So like if you're in an environment that tends to be more passive, and you have a higher emotional intelligence, maybe you can read the situation and realize, oh, we need a little bit more of an aggressive style here to get things moving.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, being able to holistically see it all. So from a bird's eye view, like, okay, I know in this situation I have to be this way, in this situation it's going to affect XYZ. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about this, I'm like, I'm starting to see the results more clearly and like agree with them.
It'd be a cool, it'd be a cool study to replicate across various cultures and just see, is it an actual adaptive style where it's just like what's needed in that particular, cultural norm?
Yeah, I think also seeing the study across different, not industries, but your environment, right? Because your conflict style at work might be different than your conflict style, at home or.
Yeah. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the conflict style tests, is that it's so variable because people's conflict styles change, not only like between like work and home or something, but like between individuals at work. Like my style or communication style with one person at work is different than another person at work, and they can be adaptive. So sometimes I have trouble wrapping my head around the legitimacy of conflict style tests because it's so variable,
Yeah. We just, with one of our clients, we just sort of tweaked the Thomas Kilmann assessment to ask more specific questions that correlate to the actual environment of our client. And I think that maybe offers a little bit more of an authentic conflict style for what we're there to do, what we're working on within that office. But yeah, I too kind of am a little on the fence about the conflict management styles. Yeah.
I mean, I think if we measure that stuff where we go at work with this individual, how do you do this? Then it's more accurate, I think, or with this team.
It's kind of like personality styles. Like you're not gonna, I don't know, think of all these personality tests that don't, accurately fully encompass the entire picture. It's all very situation based to some degree.
Mm-hmm.